Su Lian was drying clothes when Su Ning returned home carrying a wine jar and a large knife. Seeing him safe, she finally relaxed. Su Ning handed her the wine he bought for Tao Yunchuan before going to wash up. However, Su Lian soon noticed the dried blood on his blade and clothes. Is that blood? Su Ning casually explained that they had encountered thieves on the road and fought them off. He avoided mentioning the real danger, not wanting his sister to worry. After confirming he wasn't injured, Su Lian finally calmed down. Once cleaned up and rested, Su Ning felt refreshed again. Soon after, Tao Tao returned from playing outside. The little girl happily rushed over and hugged him. Smiling, Su Ning pulled her away and presented her with a green wooden hairpin. Tao Tao's eyes lit up instantly. To her, hairpins were precious treasures, since her family had always been poor. Hugging the gift tightly, she ran outside excitedly to show her mother. Su Ning also gave another hairpin to Su Lian. Though calmer than Tao Tao, Su Lian still smiled warmly after receiving it. At dinner, the family waited for Tao Yunchuan to return. Not long after, he hurried into the house, sweating heavily. Is Su Ning back? He explained that news of Tao Yungan's caravan being attacked by horse bandits had already spread through the village. Hearing that several people died, he had rushed home in fear that Su Ning was among them. Unable to hide the truth anymore, Su Ning briefly explained the battle. Su Lian turned pale after hearing how dangerous the situation truly was. You are not allowed to escort carriages anymore. Tao Yunchuan silently agreed. Knowing they were genuinely worried, Su Ning stopped arguing and promised not to do it again. Since he could still earn money by collecting resources in the mountains, there was no need to make them anxious. The atmosphere eased, and the family finally sat down to eat. The next morning, Su Ning carried water and chopped firewood before returning through the village. Along the way, many villagers greeted him warmly. News of him helping repel the horse bandits and saving Tao Yungan's group had already spread. Before reaching home, Su Ning heard someone call his name. It was Tao Yi, granddaughter of the Tao clan head. Brother Ning, you're impressive. She praised him for using the intermediate realm gale knife technique to fight an inner enrichment realm warrior. Previously, she believed Su Ning had only reached the elementary realm, but now she realized his talent was far greater than expected. Su Ning answered modestly. Everyone exaggerates. Uncle Gang defeated the enemy. I only distracted him. Tao Yi laughed at Su Ning's modesty and revealed that even Tao Jingxing, the Tao clan head, had praised his courage after hearing about the battle. Su Ning was surprised. As an outsider, he had never imagined receiving recognition from the village's most respected figure. It was clear that after this incident, the villagers no longer viewed him with prejudice. When Su Ning returned home carrying firewood, he found the courtyard filled with grain, meat, clothes, and other supplies. Before he could figure out where they came from, Gui Yi arrived carrying a wooden box. The gifts were sent by Tao Yungang as thanks for saving his life during the bandit attack. Since Tao Yungang was busy dealing with funerals and injured men, he asked Gui Yi to deliver everything in his place. Inside the wooden box were 5 swallowtail flowers. Su Ning was shocked. Each flower was worth nearly 200 taels and could provide valuable cultivation energy. 5 of them amounted to around 1,000 taels. This is too expensive. Su Ning tried to refuse, but Gui Yi insisted. Tao Yungang believed Su Ning had saved both his and Gui Yi's lives, and he wanted to repay that debt. More importantly, the swallowtail flowers were extremely useful for internal cultivation. After Gui Yi left, Su Ning moved the supplies into the house and stared at the 5 flowers on the table. Each one could provide 3 units of energy. Together, they contained 15 units. Without hesitation, Su Ning began absorbing them. The flowers quickly withered as energy flowed into the martial arts panel. Name: Su Ning. Martial arts: Spring Breeze Tactic, Beginner, plus. Gale Knife Method, Intermediate, plus. Available energy, 15 units. Su Ning immediately decided to improve his internal skill first. After consuming 3 energy units, the Spring Breeze Tactic advanced into Mortal Realm, First Stage, Practice Realm. At once, a surge of strength erupted through his body. His blood boiled, muscles tightened, and an overwhelming sense of power spread through him. Although his appearance remained skinny, he could clearly feel the difference. He grabbed his 10-pound steel knife again. Previously, prolonged combat strained his arms, but now it felt almost weightless. Excited, Su Ning practiced the Gale Knife technique inside the house. The blade cut through the air with far greater speed and force than before. After finishing, Su Ning was thrilled. The improvement in internal skill had dramatically enhanced the power of his external technique. His strength, control, and endurance all rose to a new level. He then looked at the panel again. Advancing the Spring Breeze Tactic to Mortal Realm Second Stage would require 6 energy units. With 12 units remaining, Su Ning faced a choice. He could either raise his internal cultivation further into the Muscle Bone realm or use all remaining energy to push the Gale Knife technique into the legendary Perfection realm. Su Ning hesitated. From the battle with the horse bandits, he had already witnessed how terrifying higher internal cultivation could be. A stronger physique allowed martial artists to unleash their full potential in combat. At the same time, the perfection realm of external skills was extremely rare. Only a few clan elders had ever mastered techniques like the Gale Knife technique to that level, and ordinary warriors usually needed years of training to achieve it. After careful consideration, Su Ning chose to continue improving his internal cultivation instead of upgrading the Gale Knife technique. He understood that without a strong body, even the best external technique would remain limited. The martial arts panel refreshed again. Name: Su Ning. Martial arts: Spring Breeze Tactic, Mortal Realm 2nd Stage, Muscle Bone Realm, plus. Gale Knife Method, Intermediate, plus. Available energy, 6 units. The moment he broke through, a strange chill spread through his bones and fascia. His muscles became more flexible, his reactions sharper, and his body lighter. Unlike the practice realm, which mainly enhanced raw strength, the muscle bone realm greatly improved agility, explosiveness, and precision. Su Ning immediately realized how much stronger his combat ability had become. His Gale Knife technique now had greater accuracy, wider attack angles, and smoother movements. Even without using martial techniques, he felt confident facing several ordinary men barehanded. Experiencing the benefits of internal cultivation firsthand, Su Ning's desire for martial arts deepened further. Thanks to the 5 swallowtail flowers, his strength had risen dramatically in a short time. Among the younger generation of Tao Village, very few could now rival him. When he checked the panel again, advancing to Mortal Realm 3rd Stage required 12 energy units, double his remaining amount. Since reaching the perfection realm of the Gale Knife technique also required 12 units, Su Ning stopped upgrading and decided to save his energy for later. Over the next half-month, Su Ning frequently entered the Yunza Mountains. After becoming familiar with the outer edges of the inner region, he gradually explored deeper areas. The inner mountains contained far more valuable medicinal herbs and rare beasts than the outer region. Previously, Su Ning earned only a few taels each month gathering herbs, but now his income exceeded 60 taels in just half a month. At this pace, he could easily earn over 100 taels monthly. Meanwhile, Tao Yungang handled the aftermath of the bandit attack responsibly. He compensated the families of the deceased generously, supported their children, and paid Tao Yunxuan's medical expenses after he lost an arm. Because of this, villagers still trusted and respected him. Su Ning's own reputation continued rising. Guiyi was no longer surprised by the valuable herbs Su Ning brought back from the mountains every day. With the family's financial situation improving rapidly, Su Ning convinced Su Lian and Tao Yunchuan to stop overworking themselves. Their meals became much richer, the house began undergoing repairs, and the family finally started living comfortably. After dinner one evening, Su Ning asked Tao Yunchuan to prepare some lamb meat as a gift. During his recent trips into the mountains, Su Ning realized that close combat against ferocious beasts remained dangerous. To solve this weakness, he decided to learn an archery-based martial skill for long-range combat. After asking Tao Yungang for advice, he was directed to visit Tao Yunming, a powerful Mortal Realm 4th Stage Qi Realm warrior and the former martial arts coach of the village. That night, Su Ning arrived at Tao Yunming's large residence carrying gifts. Lanterns illuminated the courtyard entrance as he knocked on the door. Soon, a young man with features similar to Tao Yunming opened it. "Su Ning," the young man asked. "It's me." The young man smiled and stepped aside. "Come in." Tao Yunming's son led Su Ning into the study, where Tao Yunming sat beneath a glowing lamp surrounded by bookshelves. Despite his fierce physique, the older man carried himself with the calmness of a scholar. Tao Yunming welcomed Su Ning warmly. He already held a strong impression of the young man. Su Ning had cultivated the Gale Knife technique to the intermediate realm through his own efforts, remained humble despite his talent, and had even risked his life to save others during the bandit attack. When Tao Yunming asked about his recent activities, Su Ning explained that he had been practicing internal skills while collecting medicine in the mountains. Tao Yunming reminded him that internal cultivation was the true foundation of martial arts and warned him not to neglect it for external techniques. Su Ning listened respectfully before explaining the reason for his visit. Hunting and gathering medicine in Yunza Mountains had become dangerous because close combat with beasts carried constant risks. To improve his survival chances, he wanted to learn an archery-based martial skill. At first, Tao Yunming frowned. In his view, martial artists should focus primarily on internal cultivation. Practicing multiple external skills often distracted people from true advancement. However, after hearing Su Ning's reasoning, he eventually agreed. "You can learn archery," Tao Yunming said, "but only as support. Do not let it delay your internal skill training." He then retrieved an old martial arts manual called the Light Featherbow Technique. Tao Yunming explained that he had once learned it himself while serving in the village hunting team, though he only reached the elementary realm. Su Ning gratefully accepted the manual. Before leaving, Tao Yunming shared additional advice and life lessons, clearly treating Su Ning as a promising junior. Soon after, Su Ning began practicing the Light Featherbow Technique while continuing his trips into Yunza Mountains. One day deep within the inner region of the mountains, Su Ning sprinted through the forest while being chased by a leopard nearly the size of a tiger. Despite the danger, he remained calm. Ever since reaching the muscle-bone realm, his speed, endurance, and explosiveness had improved tremendously. After a long chase, Su Ning noticed the leopard slowing from exhaustion. Taking advantage of the terrain, he climbed to higher ground and suddenly turned to face the beast. Drawing his bow, Su Ning released an arrow. The leopard instinctively dodged the first shot, but before it could react again, 3 more arrows flew toward it in rapid succession. This was the strength of the light featherbow technique. Fast, continuous shots that were difficult to evade. 2 arrows struck the leopard, wounding its back and shoulder. Realizing the prey had become the hunter, the leopard immediately tried to escape. Su Ning chased after it while continuing to fire arrows. Although many missed due to the leopard's agility, the repeated attacks gradually slowed the beast down. Once close enough, Su Ning switched to his knife. After several clean strikes, he finally killed the leopard. Looking at the corpse, Su Ning sighed slightly at the damaged fur caused by the arrows. He retrieved his arrows from the body before taking out a small knife to carefully skin the beast. Afternoon. Su Ning was returning to Tao village with a cut leopard skin when he noticed a group of riders galloping out of the village. They wore black armor and black clothes, swords and long blades hanging at their waists. Their formation was tight, their movements perfectly synchronized, and even their horses moved in unison, an oppressive, disciplined presence. Black armored guards. Su Ning frowned. He had once seen them during an escort mission with Tao Yun Gang, which was why he recognized them. But their sudden appearance here puzzled him. The black armored guards had never visited Tao village in his memory. Something big must have happened, he muttered, though he drew no conclusion. Soon, he reached the village gate, where the guards on duty greeted him warmly. Su Ning, back again? What did you bring this time? A leopard skin, Su Ning replied with a smile. Though I ruined parts of it with my arrows. Still better than us. The guard laughed, a hint of envy in his tone. We just stand around all day. Most village guards were ordinary men with little cultivation, earning modest wages by merely maintaining presence. Su Ning then asked, I just saw a group of black armored guards leaving. Did they visit the village? They did, the guard nodded. They came asking to see the clan head. We didn't dare refuse. No idea why they came. None. Su Ning didn't press further. After some casual talk, he went to the hunting shop and sold the leopard fur. In the old clan hall, nearly 10 elders gathered. All were elderly, yet each carried a distinct martial aura. They were the highest decision-makers of Tao village, the Tao clan elders. At the head sat Tao Jingxing, the current clan head. Despite the winter cold, he wore a thin shirt, his exposed arms showing dense, hardened muscle. I called you here for one reason, Tao Jingxing said calmly, his voice carrying undeniable authority. The black armored guards captain, Xia Yuanxing, has just met me. The hall stirred. Some elders reacted in surprise. Others remained calm, already aware of the visit. What did he want? Tao Jinglu asked. Tao Jingxing paused before answering. They intend to recruit talent from Tao village. Recruit from us? Shock rippled through the room. A bald elder frowned. The black armored guards have never taken locals before. Why now? The others nodded. It was common knowledge. After the chaos of past decades, the Source faction unified Feiyun State and established the black armored guards in Yunying City as its enforcing force. They were stationed across regions like Kangyun County, but recruits had always come from outside, maintaining a strict separation from local powers. That balance had lasted 30 years. Now, it seemed to be changing. Tao Jingxing continued. Xia Yuanxing didn't give a clear reason. He only said the situation is unstable and external recruitment is inconvenient, so they will select talent locally. Then what are the criteria? Asked Tao Jingfang, the oldest elder, a sharp-eyed woman who had devoted her life to the village. Age 14 to 18, Tao Jingxing replied. They will take the most outstanding young men. Around 20 people. 14 to 18, Tao Jingfang's expression darkened. They're taking the village's future. Anger immediately spread among the elders. Tao Jinglu spoke first. We can't allow this. If we send away our best youth, what remains of Tao village? Voices rose in agreement. Silence. Tao Jingxing's command cut through the hall. The room fell instantly quiet. His gaze swept across them. I understand your concerns. I felt the same at first. He continued, but Xia Yuanxing made a promise. Those who join the black armored guards will retain the right to stay in Kangyun County permanently, and at 40, they may choose whether to remain in the guards or return to Tao village. The tension in the room eased. That changes things, one elder muttered. The idea that the youths would not be permanently taken away softened the objections. They would still remain within the county, and could return later as experienced warriors, potential future pillars of the village. Gradually, the objections turned into cautious acceptance. However, clan head, Tao Jingfang said slowly, if this happens, the Tao village and the black armored guards will become deeply intertwined. From then on, our independence will no longer exist. Their influence will inevitably seep into the village. Tao Jinglu immediately echoed her concern. That's right. The hall fell quiet again. Tao Jingxing gripped the armrest and said calmly, "Do we even have the right to negotiate with them?" No one answered. He continued, "For 30 years, the black armored guards maintained boundaries with local clans. Not hostile, not friendly, just separate. That was because they still had unfinished affairs, stabilizing order, restoring production, eliminating remaining forces. But now that things have settled, they are beginning to integrate. They want to stop being outsiders and become part of the local structure." His gaze swept across the elders. "And they are backed by the Source faction, the highest martial sacred ground in Feiyun State. Do you think Tao Village can refuse them?" Silence. Tao Jingxing's tone lowered slightly. "That is why I said this is not a discussion. I am informing you. Against such a force, we have no bargaining power. Only acceptance." The elders felt an uncomfortable weight settle in their chests. Their authority within the village suddenly felt insignificant. Then Tao Jingxing added, "But don't be too pessimistic. If they enter the village, our young people also gain access to their resources. If even one of our villagers rises within the black armored guards, the entire Tao village benefits." The mood shifted slightly as the elders began to see both risk and reward. Tao Jingxing continued, "From the perspective of our descendants, this is not necessarily a loss. The black armored guards offer far greater cultivation resources than we ever could, training, techniques, and guidance." Then his eyes lit up faintly. "And there's more. Xia Yuanqing said this recruitment will cover all of Kangyun County, about 100 talents in total. The best among them may even be sent to the Source faction as direct disciples." Source faction disciples? Tao Jinglu shot to his feet in shock. "He said that personally?" "Yes." Tao Jingxing smiled. The name alone was enough to shake the hall. The Source faction represented the peak of martial cultivation in Feiyun State, an existence far beyond their reach. If a Tao villager entered it, it would be unprecedented. Even Tao Jingfang's eyes showed rare excitement. If that happens, it would truly change everything. But Tao Jingxing raised a hand. "Don't get carried away. This recruitment includes 100 people, 20 each from Tao, Song, and Tan villages, and the rest from the county and smaller villages. As for who reaches the Source faction, it's still uncertain." Disappointment flickered briefly, then quickly turned into renewed ambition. Moments ago, they had resisted the idea. Now they were already hoping their own children would be chosen. Tao Jingxing ended firmly, "That's all. Selection will be in 1 month. Make sure your descendants prepare. Do not miss this opportunity." "Understood, clan head." The next day, Su Ning spent the morning at home helping with chores alongside Su Lian. Su Ning. Su Ning. Gua Yi rushed into the courtyard, pushing the door open in excitement. "Sis." He greeted Su Lian, then turned to Su Ning. "Big news." Su Lian raised an eyebrow. "Slow down, what happened?" "The black armored guards are recruiting in Tao village." Gui Yi blurted out. Su Lian froze. Really? Even though she had never been to Kangyun County, she knew exactly what the black armored guards represented. "Yes." Gui Yi nodded eagerly. "Su Ning, you have to try. You definitely have a chance." Su Lian immediately turned to her brother. "You should take this seriously." Su Ning only smiled faintly and said nothing. "Let me see the notice." Gua Yi quickly led him to the village notice board. It was already crowded. Villagers pressed shoulder to shoulder, voices buzzing with excitement and regret. "I can't believe it's real. I'm already 18, I missed it. I'm going for it, no matter what." Su Ning pushed through the crowd and caught a glimpse of the notice before being shoved aside. The conditions were simple: ages 14 to 18, no restriction on surname, and selection in 1 month by Xia Yuanqing himself. He quickly understood everything. 20 spots, roughly 1 in 10 among eligible youths. His gaze sharpened slightly. If it's purely based on strength, I should have a strong chance. Muscle bone realm plus intermediate gale knife technique. Beside him, Gui Yi leaned in eagerly. "You need to train hard. If you lack resources, I'll ask my uncle to help you." "No need," Su Ning said calmly. "If I'm not chosen, then so be it." Gui Yi frowned. "You?" Before he could continue, the crowd suddenly quieted. A tall young man with a sword at his waist walked in. The villagers instinctively stepped aside. Su Ning's expression changed slightly. "Tao Qingyuan? Thanks a lot." The young man before the notice board stepped aside, and Tao Qingyuan politely nodded in thanks. His tone was calm, humble, and without arrogance. He walked up, read the notice carefully, paused briefly, then turned and left under the crowd's gaze. Only after he disappeared did the noise return. Wherever he goes, he becomes the center of attention. "No wonder he's the top talent of Tao village," Gua Yi said with clear jealousy. Su Ning heard it, but didn't respond. In his memories, Tao Qingyuan was the same age as him, 17, and already the undisputed #1 among the younger generation. Even Tao Jin, personally trained by clan head Tao Jingxing, was inferior to him. Almost everyone believed Tao Qingyuan would become the strongest martial artist in Tao village, even the next clan head. Tao Qingyuan entering the black armored guards is guaranteed. Even there, his talent will stand out. The crowd's discussions only reinforced that belief. Let's go, Su Ning said calmly. With the recruitment news out, there was no reason to linger. He had a month, enough time to prepare. At his current strength, he wasn't overly worried. You better train hard, Hua Yi said seriously. I know. Time passed quickly. Winter deepened, and heavy snow finally blanketed Kangyun County. The entire Tao village turned white. While others were anxiously preparing for the Black Armored Guard selection, Su Ning remained in his usual rhythm, mountain herb gathering, occasional hunting. By chance, he even found a spirit herb worth 2 energy units, which he immediately absorbed. Combined with another swallowtail flower purchased earlier and refined, his stored energy rose to 7 units. That quiet accumulation gave him confidence. Soon, the day of selection arrived. Before sunrise, the entire village was already awake and restless. Today, the Black Armored Guards would personally come to choose candidates. Every household with eligible youths was tense. So was Su Ning's family. A lavish breakfast was prepared: meat, noodles, buns, pancakes, and egg soup. Sis, this is too much, Su Ning said helplessly. Eat, Su Lian replied firmly. Your brother-in-law already went to the school field to check the situation so you won't panic. Su Ning was speechless. At that moment, Tao Tao staggered in, half awake, messy-haired and sleepy. Meat. Her eyes lit up immediately. It's not for you, Su Lian said, pulling her back by the collar and fixing her clothes. Today is important for your uncle. After tidying her up, she muttered, You're already 4 and still can't dress properly. She then handed Tao Tao small food portions to carry for later. Su Ning watched quietly, then thought of something from his past life, the entrance exams that decided one's future. For ordinary people, this selection was no different. It could completely change their destiny. Tao Tao, he called. He held up a piece of meat. Tao Tao immediately climbed onto his lap, sneaking a glance at her mother before opening her mouth. He fed her. Uncle, can you join the Black Armored Guards? She asked innocently. Should be no problem, Su Ning replied, feeding her another bite. Good luck, uncle, she said with a mouthful of meat. Thanks. After breakfast, Su Ning left with the prepared supplies and headed to the school field. Su Lian wanted to follow but stopped herself. She knew she would only make him nervous. The streets were already crowded with villagers heading the same way. Su Ning, over here. Tao Yinchuan was waiting at the entrance. Brother-in-law. Su Ning walked over, and his supplies were taken from him immediately. I've already checked the layout, Tao Yinchuan said as he led him inside. There are strength tests, weapon trials, and other assessments. Su Ning quickly understood the structure of the evaluation. The field was soon packed with people, noise rising everywhere. Meanwhile, outside Tao village, clan head Tao Jingxing, Tao Jinglu, Tao Jingfang, and the other elders stood waiting in the cold wind. They were personally receiving the Black Armored Guards captain, Xia Yuanqing. Ta ta ta. Hooves thundered in the distance. They're here, Tao Jingxing said quietly. A black armored cavalry unit approached, their presence heavy and oppressive. The leader rode a massive warhorse armored in iron, carrying a wide blade. Even before stopping, he dismounted. Boom. His landing shook the ground slightly. Captain Xia, Tao Jingxing called out immediately. Clan head Tao, Xia Yuanqing responded, removing his mask. His gaze swept across them. No need for formalities. The selection is what matters. Take us to the venue. Tao Jingxing nodded. This way. At the noisy school field, a sudden shout cut through the chaos. The Black Armored Guards are here. Instantly, the entire crowd fell silent. Everyone turned toward the entrance. They saw the Black Armored Guards entering side by side with the Tao village clan elders, heading straight toward the field with heavy, disciplined steps. Tao Jinglu stepped forward onto a raised platform and barked. All irrelevant people leave the school field. Only candidates of the correct age remain. Await instructions. Like a tide retreating, the crowd quickly pulled back. Tao Yinchuan patted Su Ning's shoulder before leaving. I'll wait outside. Don't stress. Just do your best. Got it, Su Ning replied. Soon, the massive field that had been packed moments ago was left with only around 200 youths. Outside the field, however, the crowds only grew denser, all watching eagerly. Tao Jingxing then stepped onto the platform. His voice carried clearly across the field. Today, the Black Armored Guards are selecting reserve talent. This is an opportunity for all of you. For yourselves, your families, and Tao Village, take it seriously. Follow instructions. Anyone who violates the rules will be expelled immediately. Understood. Understood. The candidates replied in unison, full of energy and anticipation. Line up at the 5 registration tables. The Black Armored Guards began organizing the process immediately. The candidates quickly formed queues, though excitement caused minor disorder. Stay in line, a guard said coldly. Even without masks, their presence was enough to silence the crowd. Su Ning stood in the middle of a queue, observing quietly. They're registering basic information first. Soon, it was his turn. Name? The examiner asked. Su Ning. The examiner paused slightly and looked up. From Tao Village. Yes. Age? 17. Another guard stepped forward and checked his bones and muscles with a firm grip. Age confirmed. Su Ning thought briefly. So this is how they verify it. The examiner continued. State your internal and external techniques and their realms. Answer honestly. Intermediate Gale Knife Technique. Muscle Bone Realm Spring Breeze Tactic, Su Ning replied. He omitted his bow technique. It wasn't relevant. Both examiners raised their eyebrows slightly. The man behind Su Ning looked devastated after hearing this, realizing his chances were gone. Not bad, the examiner said, writing it down. He handed Su Ning a form. Go to the first test. Su Ning took it and glanced at the blank sections labeled Strength, Technique, Aptitude. Strength test, Technique test, but aptitude? He moved to the next station. Heavy lifting stones were arranged across the field. As expected, the first test was raw strength. The rule was simple. Lift a stone with one hand and hold it for 10 breaths. The stone weighed roughly 150 pounds. Su Ning stepped forward when his turn came. He crouched, gripped it, and lifted it effortlessly. About 150 pounds. Time's up, the examiner said. Su Ning lowered it calmly and took his form back. A circle had already been marked in the strength column. Passed. He moved on. At the next station, weapon racks filled the area, mostly knives and spears. In the center, a candidate was already fighting a black armored guard, whose blade only defended without counterattacking. External skill evaluation, Su Ning observed. Su Ning, a voice whispered. He turned slightly. Qingping. Tao Qingping stood nearby, also waiting his turn. A brief nod passed between them before silence returned. Soon, Tao Qingping stepped forward to begin his test. Su Ning watched closely. His Gale Knife technique was solid, clearly at the elementary level and close to breaking through. Not bad talent, Su Ning thought, but still a step away from intermediate. Next, before the match fully ended, Su Ning was called. He stepped forward, picked up a knife, and handed over his form. You don't need internal skill demonstration, the examiner said flatly. Just external technique. Su Ning nodded and moved. He burst forward immediately. His blade moved cleanly, decisively. No hesitation, no wasted motion. Real combat experience showed in every strike. The examiner's eyes sharpened. He's fought before. 3 exchanges were enough. Stop, the examiner said. Good. A circle was marked under the technique column. Next stage is waiting. Go. Su Ning returned the form. He had passed both strength and technique quickly. Only one test remained. He glanced toward the final area, curiosity rising. What exactly tests aptitude? Su Ning arrived at the waiting area. A temporary shed had been set up there, with tables, chairs, and prepared food and water. It was clear the village had anticipated that candidates would need to recover between tests. More than 10 people were already inside. Among them was Tao Jin, Tao Jingxing's granddaughter and the sister of Tao Yi. She was well known in the village, second only to Tao Qingyuan among the younger generation. Su Ning greeted a few familiar faces, nodded toward Tao Jin, then found a seat without speaking further. Even after passing 2 tests, no one dared to relax yet. Su Ning, you're already here. Tao Qingping arrived shortly after, surprised. He quickly understood. Right, your Gale Knife technique is intermediate. No wonder you finished faster. You're not bad either, Su Ning replied casually. Passing 2 stages already puts you among the better ones in the village. Tao Qingping smiled wryly, then sat beside him and drank some water. His eyes accidentally fell on Su Ning's information sheet. The internal skill column clearly read, Muscle Bone Realm. He froze. Muscle Bone Realm? Tao Qingping leaned closer, lowering his voice. It's only been less than 2 months since you started the Spring Breeze tactic. And you've already reached Muscle Bone Realm? I just got lucky, Su Ning said lightly. That answer only made Tao Qingping more uncomfortable. His family had spent heavily on his training, even securing a spirit medicine to push him into this assessment. He had trained relentlessly just to reach the entry level. And yet Su Ning had already surpassed him by a full realm. Not just him, Su Ning was now on the same level as Tao Qingyuan and Tao Jin in internal cultivation speed. Tao Qingping's expression darkened slightly as he muttered, Intermediate Gale Knife Technique. Muscle Bone Realm. Tao Jin, sitting not far away, overheard everything. Her gaze shifted subtly towards Su Ning. Less than 2 months. Muscle Bone Realm. Even Tao Qingyuan had not advanced that fast. She had always known Su Ning as the brave one because of his act of saving others, as praised by Tao Jingxing. But now, that label was no longer enough. Genius. A level of genius comparable to Tao Qingyuan. Tao Jin's fingers tightened slightly. She told herself coldly, I am already at the Mortal Realm 3rd stage and intermediate external skill. Only Tao Qingyuan is above me in the village. But even as she reassured herself, unease crept in. If he keeps progressing like this. She clenched her fists. Su Ning, meanwhile, noticed her behavior. She kept glancing at him, then lowering her eyes, then clenching her fists again. She heard us talking and misunderstood something, he thought. But he didn't dwell on it. Half an hour passed. Nearly 40 candidates gathered in the waiting area. Out of more than 200 participants, Only about 1/5 had passed so far. Su Ning did a quick calculation. 20 spots total, meaning nearly half of us will be eliminated in the final round. Soon, a black armored guard arrived. Congratulations, he said flatly. Follow me. The final qualification test begins now. The 40 candidates lined up and followed. At the center of the school field, a wooden platform had been prepared. Tao Jingxing and the clan elders sat nearby, watching alongside Xia Yuanqing. Tao Qingyuan stood calmly among the candidates. Tao Jin, you seem tense, he said casually. I'm not, she replied. Just curious about the test. Tao Qingyuan didn't respond further. In his eyes, Tao Jin had always been overly sensitive, competent, but emotionally unstable. Meanwhile, Tao Qingping leaned towards Su Ning. I'm nervous, he admitted. Su Ning replied simply, relax. But internally, he shared the same uncertainty. Compared to others, his original body's talent was mediocre. Without the martial arts panel, he would have been far behind. This final test could still eliminate him. Yet his mentality remained steady. Even if he failed, it would only slow him down slightly. His future wasn't limited here. Sit cross-legged, the guards ordered. Everyone complied. In front of them, an object covered in cloth was placed on the platform. It was large and heavy, carried in by multiple black armored guards. Captain Xia, what is this? Tao Jingxing asked. Xia Yuanqing only smiled. You'll know soon. Begin. A deputy stepped forward with a metal container and a feather. He approached the first candidate. Look up. Open your eyes. The candidate obeyed, confused. The feather was dipped into the liquid and lightly pressed onto his forehead. Then the deputy moved on. One by one. The method was strange. Su Ning frowned slightly. What exactly is this supposed to measure? Not only him, Tao Qingyuan and Tao Jin were also visibly puzzled. Soon, it was Su Ning's turn. The black armored guard deputy dipped the feather into the unknown liquid and lightly brushed it across Su Ning's eyes. A cool sensation spread briefly through his vision, then vanished almost instantly. When Su Ning opened his eyes again, everything looked unchanged. Soon, the same liquid was applied to every candidate. The deputy set the container aside and walked to the platform where the covered stone tablet was placed. In a moment, all of you will stare at this stone tablet, he announced. Then sit down and maintain your position. Do not stand up. His voice echoed across the field. During the test, you may blink, but you are not allowed to close your eyes. Anyone who does so will be disqualified. The last 20 who remain seated will pass. The candidates tensed immediately. Even Tao Qingping began breathing more heavily, trying to steady himself. Begin. The black cloth was removed. A rough, cracked stone slab was revealed, its surface marked by strange black lines running across the center. Su Ning narrowed his eyes. They want us to stare at this pattern? At first, nothing happened. But after a dozen breaths, the lines on the stone began to move. They rotated slowly clockwise, yet unevenly. Some lines moved faster, others lagged behind. The moment they moved, Su Ning's surroundings vanished. Only darkness remained, along with the rotating lines. Around the field, the elders of Tao village also stared at the stone. At first, they saw nothing unusual. A stone tablet, and we just watch it? Tao Jinglu frowned. Even Tao Jingxing couldn't make sense of it. Captain Xia, what exactly is this? He asked. Xia Yuanqing only smiled faintly. Keep watching. Tao Jinglu muttered. Just staring at a stone and sitting still. What kind of test is this? Xia Yuanqing glanced at him, but said nothing. Suddenly, movement broke the silence in the field. Several candidates began to falter. What's happening? One elder asked. Xia Yuanqing raised a brow. Already giving up? To fail the first step like this? The elders quickly looked toward the candidates, then focused on Su Ning. Inside the illusion-like space, Su Ning felt the rotation intensify. The black lines spun faster and faster, and his breathing began to fall out of his control. It was as if an invisible force was manipulating his inhalation and exhalation, forcing a strange rhythm onto his body. This is controlling my breathing? The more he resisted, the harder it became to maintain focus. His consciousness wavered. So this is aptitude. Su Ning's thoughts sharpened. Physical sensitivity, bodily instinct, natural compatibility with techniques. Not intelligence, but the body itself. He let out a faint bitter smile. So my previous life's advantages don't matter here. His breathing grew unstable. His awareness dimmed. He was close to losing control. So this is where it ends. Just then, a white light flashed. A familiar interface appeared in front of him. Consume 1 unit of energy to learn. Source breath bodybuilding tactic? Yes/no. Su Ning froze. What is this? This technique. I've never even heard of it. But before he could think further, the martial arts panel unfolded. Spring breeze tactic, muscle bone realm, plus. Gale knife method, intermediate, plus. Light feather bow, elementary, plus. Source breath bodybuilding tactic, unlearned, plus. Energy, 7 units. A new entry. Something that did not exist in his memory. Then realization struck. This isn't just a test, it's a technique induction. The black lines, they are the cultivation route of this body technique. Those who can adapt quickly are talented. Those who can't are eliminated. It was brutally simple. A direct assessment of learning speed through force perception. Su Ning exhaled slowly. I see. Without hesitation, he chose. Yes. The panel changed instantly. Source breath bodybuilding tactic. Beginner. Energy, 6 units. In that moment, the suffocating rhythm in his body loosened. The forced breathing no longer dragged him. It aligned with him. His body naturally began to follow the pattern. Strength flowed through his muscles in a subtle but real surge. 20% stronger. Su Ning's eye sharpened. Even the beginner stage gives this much improvement. If it advances further, this technique alone could define combat power. He finally understood the true value of the black armored guards and the source faction behind them. Not just authority, resources, techniques, methods beyond ordinary villages. Su Ning steadied his breathing and entered full focus. The test continued, but he was no longer being crushed by it. He was adapting. The assessment ended as the deputy examiner's voice rang out. Time's up. Only 20 candidates remained on the field. Everyone who survived the final test let out a long breath, their tense expressions finally easing. Some even smiled in relief, while those eliminated stood outside the field with regret and frustration, watching the final group as if they had been separated from their future. Su Ning rubbed his eyes and looked around calmly. Unlike most, he didn't feel much emotional fluctuation. After upgrading the source breath bodybuilding tactic to the beginner level, he had already anticipated this outcome. Beside him, Tao Qingyuan and Tao Jin were also still seated, though both showed faint signs of fatigue. Tao Jin quickly glanced at Tao Qingyuan, confirmed he was still present, then shifted her gaze towards Su Ning. He was still there too. Her expression remained neutral as she looked away, but her eyes lingered a fraction too long. Soon, the candidates lined up to receive their results. Tao Qingyuan stepped forward first. Captain Xia, he greeted respectfully. Xia Yuanxing took his form, scanned it briefly, and smiled. Tao Qingyuan, I've heard of you. You are the pride of Tao Village. Tao Jingxing, standing nearby, looked at him with obvious satisfaction. From the beginning, he had already decided that Tao Qingyuan would be the next clan head. You are now a member of the Black Armored Guards, Xia Yuanxing said. He opened a wooden box and took out a yellow metal plate engraved with Black Armored Guard. Tao Qingyuan accepted it calmly and stepped aside. Next came Tao Jin. She also received a yellow or high-tier recognition plate, followed by a few other top performers. Su Ning observed carefully. Yellow plates for top talent, gray for ordinary, cyan in between. The hierarchy was clear even at entry level. Even within the Black Armored Guards, status is divided from the beginning. Soon, it was his turn. Su Ning, Xia Yuanxing looked up, slightly more interested than before. He glanced at the record. Muscle Bone Realm. Intermediate Gale Knife Technique. Age 17. On paper, he wasn't at the very top. But in the final test, his performance had stood out. Tao Jingxing also leaned slightly forward as he read the information. Muscle Bone Realm? He muttered, surprised. He had previously only heard Su Ning was strong in external techniques. He hadn't expected his internal cultivation to also be at this level. His expression shifted subtly. This child's growth speed is higher than I thought. Both Tao Jingxing and Tao Jinglu shared a similar thought in that moment. We need to keep him in Tao Village. Xia Yuanxing, meanwhile, finally spoke again. You are not from Tao Village. Su Ning answered calmly. I am. I just carry a foreign surname. Tao Jingxing immediately relaxed upon hearing this. A faint smile appeared on his face. Good. At least this genius still belonged to Tao Village. Xia Yuanxing nodded and glanced at Su Ning once more before taking a cyan metal plate from the wooden box and handing it over. Cyan, Su Ning accepted it and thanked him. It wasn't the highest tier, but it was still within expectations. He stepped aside and joined the rest of the candidates who had already received their plates. Not far away, Tao Jin noticed Su Ning's cyan plate. A faint, almost imperceptible smile appeared on her face. She had already confirmed her yellow plate was the highest tier among Tao Village candidates. What are you smiling at, Tao Jin? Tao Qingyuan asked, catching that subtle expression. Nothing, she replied calmly. Just happy that I passed. Tao Qingyuan frowned slightly, but didn't pursue it further. What a pity, Xia Yuanxing thought as he observed Su Ning walking away. In truth, he had intended to give Su Ning a yellow plate. But there were only 2 yellow allocations for Tao Village. As a Mortal Realm 3rd stage martial artist, his judgment was precise. He had clearly seen that Su Ning performed the best in the final test. However, Tao Qingyuan and Tao Jin had already taken the 2 yellow slots. Tao Qingyuan had overwhelming overall talent. Tao Jin, though slightly inferior, was Tao Jingxing's granddaughter. In contrast, Su Ning's overall profile was less outstanding despite his strong final performance. Soon, all 20 plates were distributed. Xia Yuanxing stood up. From today onward, you are Black Armored Guards, he said. In 10 days, escorts will bring you to Kanyan County. A murmur spread through the group. 10 days. Many were surprised. The timing clashed directly with the upcoming new year. They had assumed they would leave after the festival, not before it. Use these 10 days to rest and prepare, Xia Yuanqing added. And one more thing, after today's assessment, wash your eyes with clean water. Otherwise, they will swell. He then turned to Tao Jingxing. Clan head Tao, the matter is concluded. We'll take our leave. Tao Jingxing nodded. I'll see you off. The elders accompanied the black armored guards as they departed. Su Ning stepped aside, looking for Tao Yinchuan. Tao Qingping approached him quickly. It seems we'll be colleagues in the future, he said with excitement. Though he only received a gray plate, he was still satisfied. Let's take care of each other, Su Ning replied with a faint smile. He was in a good mood as well. Joining the black armored guards meant stable resources and no longer needing to risk his life in the mountains daily. More importantly, it meant access to a wider world of martial arts. Outside the field, Tao Yunchuan and Gui Yi were waiting. How was it? Gui Yi asked immediately. I made it, Su Ning said, showing the cyan plate. Good, good, Tao Yunchuan exhaled in relief. Gui Yi grinned. From now on, I've got a black armored guard brother. Tao Yunchuan immediately dragged Su Ning home to share the news. Celebration spread through every household of successful candidates. The new year had not arrived yet, but joy already filled the village. 10 days passed quickly. Outside Tao village, 5 horse carriages stood ready. 2 black armored guards waited at the front as the selected youths gathered one last time. Tao Jingxing and the clan elders had come to see them off personally. Before departure, Tao Jingxing spoke solemnly. From today, you are members of the black armored guards. But remember, your roots are still in Tao village. Support each other. Do not fight internally. His gaze swept across the group. Qing Yuan. Yes, clan head. You are the strongest here. After entering the guards, take responsibility and help others. Understood. Tao Jingxing nodded. If anything happens, consult Qing Yuan. Do not scatter. You represent Tao village now. Yes. Su Ning listened quietly. So he's being positioned as the core already. Soon, they boarded the carriages. The wheels rolled forward. Half a day later, they arrived in Kangyun County and were taken directly to a newly established black armored guards camp. You will stay here for 2 days, the escort said. After all 100 recruits arrive, Master Wei will meet you. Su Ning and Tao Qingping were assigned to the same room. Let's eat, Tao Qingping said eagerly. I'll pass, Su Ning replied. My sister prepared food for me. Tao Qingping left alone. Su Ning ate the homemade food slowly, then decided to explore the camp. But just as he stepped outside, Tao Qingping rushed back in a panic. What's wrong? Su Ning asked. There's a fight, Tao Qingping said urgently. Tan village and Tao village people started fighting in the dining hall. I came to call help. Fighting? Yes. Hurry. Tao Qingping ran off to gather others. Su Ning paused only a moment. Already internal conflict. Then, without hesitation, he headed straight for the dining hall. The two of them walked back toward the residence area, the cold air of Kangyun County camp cutting through the lingering heat of the fight. Behind them, the dining hall had already emptied, but the tension hadn't. News of the clash spread quickly through the newcomers' quarters. In a place like this, even a small fight became a signal. Who was strong, who could be bullied, and who needed to be watched. In another courtyard, members of the Tan village were regrouping. Tan Fengying sat on a stone bench, wiping the blood under his nose. His expression was dark, his earlier arrogance replaced with irritation. A few of his subordinates stood around him silently, not daring to speak. So that's Tao Qing Yuan, Tan Fengying muttered, eyes cold. And that other one. He paused, recalling the final moments of the fight, how the unexpected punch came from the side, precise and irritatingly calm. Su Ning. He said the name slowly, as if memorizing it. At the same time, in the Tao village side residence, Tao Qing Yuan was also being treated as the center of attention. And next to him, Su Ning stood slightly apart, washing his hands casually. Tao Qing Yuan glanced at him once, then spoke in a calm tone. Tan Fengying will definitely come back for revenge. Su Ning replied without looking up. He already tried. It didn't work. That simple answer made a few nearby Tao village youths quietly swallow. It wasn't arrogance. It was just a fact stated too naturally. Tao Qing Yuan smiled faintly. Good mindset. From a distance, a pair of eyes observed them silently. Tao Jin leaned against a pillar, arms crossed. Her gaze lingered on Su Ning for a moment longer than necessary. He didn't panic in the fight, and he chose his timing perfectly. Her earlier dismissal of him had already shifted slightly. Now it was caution. That night, the camp didn't fully settle. Some were recovering from injuries. Some were discussing the fight. Others were quietly sharpening their resolve for what came next. Because everyone understood one thing. This wasn't a village anymore. It was a place where strength decided everything. Late at night, in the central camp hall, a faint light was still on. Xia Yuanqing stood with his hands behind his back, reviewing reports from the day. A subordinate spoke carefully. Captain, the newcomers fought on the first day. Should we intervene more strictly next time? Xia Yuanqing didn't answer immediately. Instead, he tapped lightly on the table. After a moment, he spoke. No need. He flipped to another report, Su Ning's name. A small pause appeared in his eyes. That's Su Ning, keep an eye on him. The subordinate was surprised. The cyan plate candidate. Xia Yuanqing nodded slightly. Most people either panic or lose control in chaos. But he didn't. He closed the report. And more importantly, he understood the rhythm of the battlefield faster than the others. Outside the hall, the cold wind passed through the camp. And inside, the future members of the black armored guards were already beginning to separate, without even realizing it. The next morning, Tao Qingping and Su Ning made their beds early and headed out together. Let's go eat. Tao Qingping was clearly hungry after skipping dinner the night before. Su Ning also felt his stomach empty as they moved toward the dining hall. As soon as they stepped outside, they ran into other members of the Tao village. Unlike before, nearly everyone greeted Su Ning warmly. His involvement in yesterday's conflict had clearly changed how they saw him. He had fought alongside them against the Tan village, and even if his strength wasn't overwhelming, that shared action alone earned him recognition. On top of that, Tao Qingyuan's visible closeness to him further raised his standing. When they arrived at the dining hall, they immediately saw members of the Tan village. The atmosphere turned cold on both sides, though neither dared to start another fight after yesterday's warning. Inside, Su Ning was surprised by the food. The camp's provisions were abundant, piles of meat, porridge, and flatbread, all self-served without limits. He took a simple portion and sat with Tao Qingping, soon joined by Tao Qingyuan. As they ate, Tao Qingping muttered that the Tan village people clearly hated them. Su Ning replied lightly that the feeling was mutual. Tao Qingyuan added that newcomers from the Song village had also arrived, meaning most groups selected for the black armored guards had gathered. The hall was now crowded, with each village sitting in its own cluster. Tao Qingyuan then called Tao Jin and the 3 other Tao village women over. They had passed the assessment and sat down quietly, though Tao Jin in particular kept her head down, avoiding eye contact. Su Ning observed her cold, somewhat arrogant demeanor and silently remained indifferent, tolerating her only because of her status as the clan head's granddaughter. Before they finished eating, a black armored guard entered and shouted that Master Wei would speak at the school field after the meal. The announcement instantly killed the relaxed mood, and everyone hurried to finish. At the school field, all newcomers assembled in scattered village groups. Guards ordered them to tighten formation and remain silent. Soon, a group of black armored guards arrived, followed by a thin, gray-haired middle-aged man in white. Wei Changqing, the head of the black armored guards in Kanyan County. He began his speech. First, he congratulated them for passing the assessment and reminded them to serve diligently. Second, he explained resource allocation. Among the newcomers, 60 had gray plates, 30 cyan, and 10 yellow. Monthly subsidies differed accordingly. Each tier received an extra 200 taels, while cyan plates added a swallowtail flower and yellow plates received a Qinglu Dan instead. The crowd reacted differently, depending on rank. Gray plate holders felt disadvantaged, cyan plate holders were conflicted, and yellow plate holders showed quiet satisfaction. Su Ning remained calm, more interested in the Qinglu Dan, a high-grade medicinal pill with far better absorption than spirit herbs. He noted internally that he would compare its energy once Tao Qingyuan received one. Wei Changqing then added the final point. Assessment ranks were not fixed. Performance could improve one's status later. The moment Wei Changqing mentioned that assessment ranks could be changed, the crowd immediately stirred. The assessment level can be changed? Especially the cyan and gray plate holders perked up, clearly paying close attention. Wei Changqing continued calmly, explaining that every 3 months there would be a reassessment. The method was simple, one-on-one combat. Lower-ranked plate holders could challenge higher-ranked ones. If they won, they would directly swap plates. Details of the challenge system would be announced later. Su Ning's gaze turned thoughtful. So gray plates could challenge cyan, and cyan could challenge yellow. Success meant promotion, failure meant demotion. On the surface, it looked like opportunity. But Su Ning quickly saw the imbalance. Some higher plate holders might not actually be strong yet. Only young or talented, or selected for potential rather than immediate combat strength. These people would naturally become targets. As expected, several eyes already drifted toward the younger cyan and yellow plate holders. Su Ning's thoughts deepened. This system wouldn't create harmony. It would ensure constant competition and internal hostility. Low-level challengers would often target people from other villages, turning external rivalry into structured conflict. Over time, this would fracture unity and push everyone toward individual survival over cooperation. He quickly pieced together the intent behind it. The black armored guards were not simply recruiting talent. They were integrating different village forces into a controlled structure, while also preventing them from uniting too closely. Even if the organization was strong enough to dominate Kanyan County directly, this layered system made relationships within it deliberately tense and unstable. Su Ning understood it clearly, but it didn't bother him much. As long as he gained resources, being a piece on the board still had value. Wei Changqing then moved to the final point. His tone grew slightly heavier as he reminded everyone to train diligently and fulfill their duties. Then came the unexpected part. Within 3 years, Kangyun County would be given entry slots into the Source faction, and those slots would be awarded to the best performers among them. The words hit differently for those hearing it for the first time. Source faction? Su Ning was genuinely surprised. There had been no mention of this during recruitment. Yet several people showed no reaction at all. Tao Qingyuan, Tao Jin, Ten Fengying. Clearly, they had known in advance. That confirmed to Su Ning that the information had been kept within higher circles of the villages. A martial arts holy land in State Feiyun. A true stepping stone. I have to compete for this. Wei Chongqing concluded the speech and handed control of the newcomers to Captain Chu. After brief instructions about future duty assignments, the gathering was dismissed. The crowd dispersed, each person already calculating their next move. A few days later, Su Ning arrived at Maple Lane in Kangyun County with his cyan plate and identity documents. His assignment was clear: Maple Lane Black Armored Guards Post. Kangyun County was not small. It had 6,000 city guards, ordinary warriors with limited talent, and 400 black armored guards, including 100 newcomers. These were divided across 16 guard posts and 3 main camps. Some newcomers stayed in camps, while others were sent to posts for field duty. Su Ning had been assigned alone. Most others were sent in groups of 3 to 5. That detail stood out, but he didn't dwell on it for now. Standing on the street, he asked an old vendor selling candied fruit for directions. The man immediately recognized his uniform and pointed nervously toward the south side of the river. Across that street, near the riverbank. Thank you. As Su Ning walked away, he noticed a subtle but consistent reaction from the people around him. Pedestrians stepped aside. Vendors stopped calling out. Conversations quieted as he passed. Fear, respect, deference. The authority of the black armored guards was deeply rooted in Kangyun County. Su Ning still found it slightly uncomfortable, but he adapted quickly. Soon, he arrived at the Maple Lane guard post. It resembled a small yamen, walled compound, open gate, and 2 guards standing watch. Before he could even speak, one of them asked carefully, "May I ask, are you Master Su?" "I'm Su Ning." The guard immediately straightened. "Lieutenant Chun has instructed us to bring you in." So they were already expecting him. "Thank you. It is our duty, sir." The contrast in attitude was obvious. Su Ning simply nodded and followed. Inside, the courtyard surprised him. A large tree over 20 meters tall stood at the center, surrounded by neatly arranged flowers and plants. It didn't feel like a military post at all. It looked more like a cultivated garden. "The layout is quite refined," Su Ning remarked. "It was arranged personally by Lieutenant Chun," the guard replied. That told Su Ning something important. This place likely wasn't heavily burdened with external operations, otherwise its leader wouldn't have time for landscaping. They passed through the courtyard and reached the back. The guard stopped at a room. "Lieutenant Chun is inside." Su Ning adjusted his clothes slightly, stepped forward, and knocked. Knock, knock, knock. A weak voice came from inside. "Come in." Su Ning pushed the door open. Inside, a middle-aged man with graying hair reclined on a white felt chair, eyes closed as sunlight streamed across his face. He looked drained, almost half asleep. On the table before him, an incense burner sent up thin curls of fragrant smoke. Beside a bookcase sat a birdcage with a small green bird dozing inside. Even the bird mirrored its owner's lethargy. Near the window, several potted plants stayed unexpectedly lush and green despite the winter cold. "Lieutenant Chun," Su Ning said, closing the door. "I'm Su Ning, reporting for duty." At the name, Chunrin slowly opened his eyes. Su Ning presented his identity card and cyan plate with both hands, but the man didn't even reach for them. "I know," Chunrin said faintly, finally sitting up. His eyes were tired, deep exhaustion that no posture could hide. "You're lucky to be assigned here," he said. "Maple Lane is stable. Most days there's nothing to do. Occasionally we follow higher orders, but usually we just stay here. Chores go to the city guards. No need to worry." He leaned back again. "As for your assessment pressure, you can focus on training. You don't even need to report daily. Salary will still be paid." Su Ning paused. The situation felt off. This wasn't the strict black armored guards he had imagined. It sounded more like a place where people collected paychecks without working. Chunrin waved his hand lazily. "That's all. Dismissed." The conversation ended as quickly as it began. Outside, Su Ning felt an odd mismatch between the lively courtyard and the lifeless guard post. The contrast was unsettling. The city guard who had escorted him stepped forward. "Master Su, do you need anything?" "My study. It's in the next courtyard." As they walked, Su Ning glanced around at the flowers and greenery. "Lieutenant Chun likes these?" "Yes, but they were purchased by Dayuan Trading Company." "Dayuan Trading Company?" Su Ning repeated. The guard nodded. "A major chamber of commerce in Kangyun County. Their main branch here is in Maple Lane." "And they're not local?" "No. Their headquarters is in Yunying City." That name made Su Ning's eyes narrow slightly. Yunying City, the capital of State Feiyun, the heart of the Source faction. A connection immediately formed in his mind. So there's overlap between De Yuan Trading Company and the Source faction. He noted it silently. What's your name? Su Ning asked. The guard hesitated, then quickly answered with visible excitement. Feng Xigua, Master Su. The reaction didn't escape Su Ning. Being remembered by a black armored guard clearly mattered to someone in his position. I'll remember it, Su Ning said. They continued walking. As they left the guard post, Su Ning finally asked what had been bothering him. Why is there only Lieutenant Chen here? Where are the others? Feng Xigua lowered his voice slightly. The Maple Lane post is very safe. Most city matters are handled by city guards. So, the black armored guards rarely come. Su Ning frowned. Then why does Chunren stay here? Feng Xigua hesitated again. He doesn't really work. He comes to tend the flowers. The answer confirmed everything Su Ning had started to suspect. A guard post with almost no duties. A lieutenant who treated it like a garden. A system where most responsibilities were pushed onto city guards. This place was not a frontline post. It was a quiet, almost idle assignment. As they walked further, Maple Lane revealed itself as a bustling commercial district. Shops lined both sides of the street. Silk, medicine, jewelry, calligraphy, and paintings. The streets were crowded and lively. So prosperous, Su Ning muttered. Feng Xigua nodded. 30 years ago, when the black armored guards first took control, the county had fewer than 20,000 people. Now it's close to 100,000. Without them, there would have been war and famine. Su Ning acknowledged the statement. The black armored guards had clearly stabilized the region. But what he had just seen inside the post made that contribution feel distant. Feng Xigua continued, almost proudly, 70% of these shops belong to De Yuan Trading Company. Su Ning looked around again. Only this street. There are 3 commercial streets here. On average, 6 out of 10 shops belong to them. They also operate across other districts in the county. Su Ning's gaze sharpened slightly. So they're not just influential, they're dominant. Then, suddenly, leave the goods. Take the money and get out. A shout echoed from up ahead. Su Ning's hand instinctively moved toward his waist. Let's go, he said, and he stepped forward toward the disturbance. The commotion unfolded in front of a spacious medicinal shop. A middle-aged man in a cotton-padded jacket was forcibly thrown out by 2 strong men. If you don't leave, the city guards will take you down. You won't even be able to walk away then. A man in a fur coat warned coldly from the shop entrance. The middle-aged man crashed to the ground but immediately struggled up again, panic and anger on his face. We never agreed to this price. If you refuse to pay what was promised, how am I supposed to answer to my village? Answer them yourself. It has nothing to do with me. The shopkeeper turned away as if the matter was already settled. The man tried to grab his leg in desperation. For a moment, the 2 strong men raised thick wooden sticks, preparing to strike him down. Then, stop. The shopkeeper's voice suddenly changed. Not out of mercy, but awareness. A black armored guard stood in the crowd. Su Ning watched silently, expression unchanged. The shopkeeper immediately shifted his attitude. The hostility vanished into a forced smile. My brother. I must have misunderstood. He quickly helped the man up. It was just a small issue. A few hundred taels, nothing serious. The middle-aged man froze, unable to process the sudden reversal. Moments ago he was about to be beaten, now he was being paid. 3 silver notes were placed into his hands. Go on, return and greet your villagers, the shopkeeper said smoothly. The man bowed repeatedly in gratitude before leaving. The crowd slowly dispersed. But Su Ning didn't move. He had seen everything. The shopkeeper approached carefully. Are you here to purchase medicinal materials? Su Ning didn't answer. His gaze remained calm, unreadable. The earlier scene was clear. Without his presence, the man would have been beaten and left empty-handed. After a moment, Su Ning finally stepped forward. Let's go in and take a look. The shopkeeper exhaled in relief and followed quickly. Inside, shelves were filled with medicinal materials of decent quality. Su Ning glanced briefly before moving upstairs. On the second floor, spirit medicines were displayed. His eyes stopped on a swallowtail flower. 300 taels, he read quietly. The price was significantly higher than what he usually knew. Guoye's discount rate was far lower, and even wholesale supply from Tao Yungan's channels was cheaper. But he understood the markup of retail. The shopkeeper immediately leaned in. If you like it, I can give it to you for half price, 150 taels. Su Ning looked at him. That's still a loss for you. The shopkeeper smiled. We're backed by De Yuan Trading Company. Our costs are low. At the mention of the company again, Su Ning simply shook his head. I didn't bring money. It wasn't an excuse to bargain. He simply had no intention of buying here yet. We can record it. You can pay later. Before he finished, another voice cut in. Too petty. If Master Su likes it, just pack it up and send it. Don't embarrass De Yuan Trading Company. An old man with a thin frame and mustache walked down the stairs. His steps were steady, his presence sharper than the shopkeeper's. Deputy Manager Yu. The shopkeeper immediately bowed. The old man ignored him and approached Su Ning directly, smiling with practiced ease. Master Su, I am Yu Xinghe, Deputy Manager of De Yuan Trading Company. Su Ning studied him. The man was thin, but carried the bearing of a martial artist. More importantly, He showed no fear at all in front of a black armored guard. You know me? Su Ning asked. We received news of your arrival yesterday. Yu Xinghe replied calmly. We should have visited you first. Instead, you came personally. Forgive our lack of hospitality. Su Ning narrowed his eyes slightly. So they had been tracking his movements in advance. Dayuan Trading Company is well informed, he said flatly. We are the landlords of Maple Lane. Yu Xinghe replied with a faint smile. Naturally, we should know when guests arrive on our land. The words were polite, but the meaning was not. Su Ning's expression flickered briefly before settling into a faint smile. So this is how they see it. Su Ning said nothing further, but Yu Xinghe kept observing him closely, waiting for a reaction. Surprisingly, there was no anger, no rebuttal, only calm acceptance. Interesting. Yu Xinghe clapped his hands. Bring it. A maid stepped forward holding a wooden box and opened it. Inside lay 3 crystal-clear Qingludan. Please accept these as a welcome gift, Master Su, Yu Xinghe said. Qingludan. Su Ning finally showed interest. He reached out and picked one up. Instantly, the martial arts panel reacted. Energy detected. 3 units. Absorb? Yes/no. His eyes narrowed slightly. Only 3 units. A swallowtail flower of similar price had given him double that. So the value wasn't in raw energy. It was in absorption efficiency for normal cultivators. For him, that advantage meant nothing. So this kind of pill isn't actually better for me. He understood the difference immediately. Pills didn't increase energy density, only absorption efficiency. But his panel removed that limitation entirely. As he examined the pill, Yu Xinghe's faint smile deepened. For most warriors, resources equaled control, and people who valued resources could be influenced. The Yuan Trading Company had seen many like that. But as he watched Su Ning, something felt slightly off. This black armored guard didn't react the way others did. Not panic, not greed, just analysis.